So, hi, I am Shweta Srinivasan. I am an incoming business analyst at McKinsey, and I finished BTech in engineering physics from IIT Madras. Now, cracking the consulting interview is an initiative to help management consulting aspirants with resume reviews, case solving, and focused practice sessions. So, do check us out on LinkedIn and please like and subscribe if you'd like to access more such videos. So, let's get started with our profitability case. First up, we have the case statement. So the interviewer is telling me, so your client is an Indian sweets manufacturer who is facing a decline in profits and he wants your help. How will you proceed? This particular statement is sourced from Case Interviews Cracked. So the first step once you get your case statement is to reiterate it. Usually you would be given a pretty long statement which has a lot of facts and information because the interviewer probably worked on the case himself or herself. So at that point, don't repeat the entire thing verbatim, but just reiterate the important aspects. Reiterate the numbers, reiterate the objective, etc. So here I'd be like, okay, a client, an Indian sweets manufacturer, wants our help in stemming the decline in profits. Is that right? And the interviewer is like, yes. So next we move on to the preliminary questions. So first off, I would ask the interviewer, since when has there been a decline and by how much? And is this in the pre-COVID era? And the interviewer tells me there's been a decline of 20% in the last 2 to 3 months. And yes, this is in the pre-COVID era, assume mid 2019. Great. So then I would ask, so what exactly is our objective? Are we just trying to find the problem or are we trying to help the client achieve a certain level of profits? And the interviewer tells me, no target, just identify the problem and offer recommendations. Great. So now I want to know a little bit more about the company. So I asked the interviewer, where exactly does our client operate? And the interviewer tells me, the client operates all over India. So now I want to know a little bit more about the products and processes. So I ask, what are the products in our revenue streams? And where in the value chain do we lie? So the interviewer tells me, as for our products, we can consider just one product, toffees. They come wrapped and they are a commodity product. So when it comes to the value chain, I might first tell the interviewer that, see, I believe that we might be involved in manufacturing and packaging and sell our products to distributors who then provide it to retailers. So is this value chain correct or am I missing a few steps? And the interviewer tells me, no, you're right. We have three types of retailers, small, medium, and large. And the small retailers are essentially pawn shops. So then I tell the interviewer, finally, I want to understand a little bit more about the industry. So is this problem affecting the industry as a whole or is it affecting only our clients? And the interviewer tells me, yeah, this is affecting our client alone. We don't have exact data, but you can assume this to be so. Two things to note here with respect to preliminary questions. First off, I structured them. The first two questions revolved around the problem statement. The next discusses the company. The next two looks at the products and the processes. And finally, whether it's an industry wide or a client specific issue. The second thing to note is that I provided a rationale or I provided my thought process while asking questions. These two things help you get brownie points, so keep that in mind. Next, we have the structuring and initial framework. So we know that profits have fallen. This could be either due to a decline in revenues, an increase in costs, or both. So I asked the interviewer, has there been a change in either one or more of these things? The interviewer tells me costs have remained the same, revenues have fallen. So I'll further split revenues as number of units sold multiplied by price per unit. And the interviewer tells me, yeah, price per unit has remained the same and number of units have fallen. Now here we know that this client operates all over India. So it's important to eliminate certain possibilities here. So I will apply a segmentation principle. I would ask the interviewer, has the decline in units happened in any specific region in India or has this been happening across the country? And the interviewer tells me it's not in any specific market. Let's just analyze across the country. Now, this is important because if this has been happening only in South India, then I would find that out at this stage and will focus only on South India from that point. So remember to use segmentation as and when possible. So we know there's been a decline in units. So this is a structure which I typically use. This can be either due to an issue with production, distribution, or with customer pull. This framework can again be used in a lot of cases. For example, why are vaccines not being administered to a satisfactory level, say? This could be because we are having a dearth of supply, so a production issue. There's a distribution issue, essentially, supply chain, logistics, cold storage. And there's an issue from the people themselves. So they are hesitant to use a vaccine. They are not able to reach a vaccine center. They are scared, etc. So there could be a number of reasons which would be captured by this framework. So first, let's analyze the production issue. I'm using a value chain framework here. So it could be an issue with the procurement of raw materials, manufacturing, with transport, or a regulatory issue. So the interviewer tells me, there's no change here. So there's no issue with production. Great. So now I focus on the customer pull. So either there has been an overall market drop, that is, there's an issue in the economy, so the buying sentiment itself is low, or there's an issue with the entire industry. So for some people, for some reason, people are avoiding the entire toffee industry. Or there's a client specific issue. That is, there's no issue with the toffee industry. People are just not coming to our client and buying our toffees. And here I would reason before directly asking the interviewer. I would be like, so we're in mid 2019. There's been no major issue in like 2 to 3 months which had the potential to result in an overall market drop. So I believe that shouldn't be a reason. Given that we already saw that we can assume it to be a client specific issue, we can skip the industry wide aspect. And when it comes to a client specific issue, we are sort of looking at a commodity product, and these are like your 1 rupee toffees, and people are usually not brand specific. So if for some reason people are moving away from our toffees, a major reason could be that competitors slash their prices, and so people are moving there. So I would like to know whether competitors have cut their prices. And the interviewer was like, yeah, so 2 to 3 months isn't too long. So overall market drop isn't a reason. And we're assuming it to be client specific. And the competitors did not lower their prices. So the interviewer tells me, yeah, your analysis is fine. Customer pull issue is not contributing to this decline in number of units. So let's just look at distribution push. So now my focus is solely on distribution push. So there are 3 ways in which I can look at this. The leg from the company to the distributor to retailer aspect, and the retailer to the final customer aspect. So I asked the interviewer if the issue lies in any one or more of these buckets for further analysis. And the interviewer tells me, let's just focus on the retailer to customer journey. There are no issues elsewhere. So again, I will use segmentation. We know there are 3 types of retailers: small, medium, and large. Now I want to understand whether this issue is concentrated in any specific type of retailer, or it is seen across all retailers. The interviewer tells me, yeah, good. There's an issue mainly with the small retailers, so let's just focus on that. So that's where our focus will lie. Now, let's sort of look back at what we've seen so far. We know that profits have declined because of a fall in revenues. This is because number of units have fallen. And we've narrowed down the problem to lie within a distribution push issue with small retailers and their interactions with customers. So now this is what we'll have to focus on. Now we can further split this reason into 2 types: financial and non-financial. So if I have to look at the financial reasons, the main reason is margins. So say I'm a retailer. I sell chocolate A. I buy it for 80 paise. I sell it for 1 rupee. Of the 20 paise profits, I accumulate 10 paise and the producer gets 10 paise. Instead, when I sell chocolate B, of the 20 paise of profits I get to keep 15 paise and I only have to give 5 paise to the producer. So at that point, I might be more inclined to push chocolate B over chocolate A, right? So margins do play a role. So now the interviewer tells me, this is a commodity product, a 1 rupee toffee. We have the same margins as competitors, and there is no issue, or there is no difference in the amount of profits that a shopkeeper is able to get from our toffee versus the other toffees in the market. So their unit profits still remain the same. Okay, so there's no financial issue. Now we move on to the non-financial issues. Now put yourself into the shoes of a retailer and think of what really constitutes a non-financial reason. First, you need to get access to the toffees from the distributor. Second, you need to be able to store the toffees. So if it has a very low expiration, the very quick expiration period, or a very low storage period, that's a little problematic. And then when the customer comes to you, you need to be able to access the toffee. So these are the 3 legs, and this is a Mises segmentation. Each problem falls in a bucket, and each problem will fall only in one bucket. So these are the 3 legs. So now I ask the interviewer, does the problem lie in any one or more of these legs? And the interviewer tells me, there is no change in availability or storage. Let's just focus on accessibility. Now, I would like you to pause this video at this point and just think of what journey a retailer would have to take when a customer comes to them and says, give me some toffees. Just spend a few seconds and try to think of the entire journey. And if you do that, you will be able to come up with certain reasons for why there could be an issue. So essentially, when someone asks you for a toffee, you first have to look at the container. You need to go to the container, put your hand inside the container, take out the toffees and provide it to the customer. That's your journey. So if you think of what bottlenecks could exist that can result in, our shopkeeper not pushing our toffee enough, but are still pushing the other toffees, is as follows. Placement of container. If the container is, somewhat held in the back, or it is in the corner where the shopkeeper is not able to see our toffees, they will automatically not pick up our toffees. Now remember, this is a commodity product, so they'll just pick some toffee. Next, the type of container. This covers the shape, the width of the mouth of the container, the color of the container, etc. So say if the containers have very narrow mouths, or if the containers are looking in a particular way that they're very inconspicuous, in that case, the shopkeeper might not be able to access our toffees. And finally, the packaging of our toffee. Now, if our toffees, are shaped in such a way that it's hard to pull them out of a container, there could be issues. So I would ask the interviewer, has there been a change? Because remember, this has been happening only over the last 2 to 3 months. So I would ask the interviewer, has there been any recent change when it comes to placement of containers, the type and shape of the container, or the packaging of the toffee? The interviewer tells me, so we've seen, like we've gone to the stores and we've seen that the container is still placed in the same location. Our packaging hasn't changed. We haven't changed our product in any way, but there has been a change in the type of container. So in the last few months, the industry has adopted a different type of container, and all the pawn shop owners have adopted that type of container. So though we haven't changed our packaging, because of this change in the type of container, our packaging is now a little incompatible with this container, making it hard for removing the toffee out of the container. So this is what has happened. Great. We've identified the problem and we have a beautiful flow chart where we've analyzed various aspects and drilled down to the core issue. Next up, recommendations. So I tend to structure my recommendations. A lot of people don't, but I believe that it is a good habit. It helps in two ways. One, it helps you, organize your thoughts better, and it helps your thoughts in sticking with the interviewer a little bit better. Second, in cases like this, when it's not very easy to come up with recommendations, just the pure act of trying to structure the way you come up with recommendations can help you come up with some good ideas and solutions. So here we have a very simple structure. You either change the shape of the container or you don't change the shape of the container. If I change the shape of the container, obviously I'll opt for bigger and more compatible containers. If I'm not changing the shape of the container, here are some aspects. One, I would advise our client to maybe change our packaging so it becomes compatible with the container. Second, we can consider offering running connected pieces. So if you've been to a pawn shop, you would know that you have some chocolates which are strung over these horizontal poles, from which the owner just like takes a strip of chocolates and gives it to us. So we can consider something like that. Another recommendation is to offer packing suggestions. So essentially improving the packing efficiency and ensuring that we pack it in a way so that it'll be easier for the owner to take the chocolates out. And finally, we can add easy to stick stickers onto the containers. So we know that this is a commodity product. People are not specifically always going to ask for a specific brand. But instead, if you make the container attractive and eye-catching, the customer might be like, that looks good, just give me some of that specifically. So then the shop owner would have to take some of our toffees and give it to them. Last leg of the case is the synthesis. It's important to have a short, crisp synthesis which covers the essential points. So here's my synthesis. We've seen that a change in the container shape has made it hard for shopkeepers to access our toffee, thus resulting in a revenue fall and a profit fall. We can alleviate this through modified packaging with smaller wrappers and running packets, offering packing tips, and by capturing customer attention to our toffees. This is a short and crisp synthesis. 1 point about our process and our case solving journey. 1 point about the recommendations. The synthesis would not have lasted more than 30 to 40 seconds, and that's how a good synthesis should be. So let's analyze what we've looked at during the session. I structured preliminary questions. That's a good idea. What I would suggest you do is, as you solve more and more cases, you would have used a lot of preliminary questions. Note them down, and in the end, you would have a repertoire of case questions. It's important not and a repertoire of preliminary questions. So it's important not to unleash your entire arsenal of questions each time, because your preliminary questions should consume as minimum amount of time as possible for you to extract the minimum information you need to start solving. So pick and choose questions as per the case requirement. Next, I gave a rationale for questions, and throughout the case, I shared my thought process. So I didn't directly ask for case data or facts all the time, but there were many instances where I sort of told you why I am asking for this data, or I told you why I think this could be a reason. Is this a reason or not? So that's important. Next, I use segmentation to eliminate possibilities. So if I hadn't asked the question of whether this is specific to a type of retailer or across all retailers, I would have never known that this is, specific to small retailers early on. And I would have to, like run around in circles trying to find a reason, because we would still be operating at a very vague level. And I probably might not have finished the case even at this point. So it's important to use segmentation so that you can eliminate possibilities which have a low probability and arrive at the solution quickly. Throughout the case, I maintained measiness, that is mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustiveness, as much as possible. Now, it's not always possible to do this. Sometimes you might have to list out reasons, but when you're doing that, try to tell the interviewer that, so these are some of the reasons I can think off the top of my head. Do let me know if the problem falls within one of these reasons. Otherwise, I can just go back and add a few more reasons as well. But try to be meaty as much as possible. Next, I used multiple frameworks. So I used opposite words, value chain, customer journey, retailer journey. As you solve more and more cases, you'll come across these frameworks and you will get the hang of knowing when to deploy which type of framework. It's important to remember not to be a framework robot too. So definitely customize the various frameworks and suggestions you come across to the specific case. I then structured my recommendations. This is also a good suggestion. And finally, I concluded with a short and concise synthesis. There are times when you would have to, wrap up cases abruptly due to time constraints, because a typical case lasts 20 to 30 minutes, though I myself have attended interviews where I've had to solve cases for like 50 minutes, but usually 20 to 30 minutes is a standard time. So at a point where you're not able to finish the case within this 20 to 30 minute time limit, you would be asked to, wrap it up. At that point, you might have to synthesize abruptly. So do make sure that you are very mindful of what you are doing. Your paper and pen and like your real estate management on the paper or on a tab, if you're using one, is proper, so that you can extract the information and come up with a synthesis on the spot. Ensure that your synthesis is again within 30 to 40 seconds at max. It is a synthesis, not a monologue. Just remember that. So I hope you enjoyed this session. Do like and subscribe to this channel. I will be posting a few more videos on market entry and unconventional case types later on. Do follow Cracking the Consulting Interview on LinkedIn. I offer free resume reviews, case solving sessions, and focused practice sessions one-on-one. And do follow Shweta Srinivasan as well. All the best.